So then what I'm going to do, Iris, is I'm going to shave you completely, paint you green, and call you Grogu. What do you think of that, eh? Would you like that? Yeah? Yeah, of course you would. Oh, hi! Welcome to the workshop. Trej here. You've seen the thumbnail, you know what we're here to do today. We're going to have a look at how I prepared and painted my Mandalorian helmet. Originally it was a 3D printed one that I bought off of eBay. I'll pop a link in the description so you can see where I actually got that from. And yeah, this isn't how you should do it, this is just how I did do it. Because I've never actually used 3D printed materials before, so this was a learning process for myself as I went along. So yeah, hopefully you'll learn something, you know, from the mistakes I made. And yeah, at the end of it we'll have a little gallery so you can have a proper look. Iris, will you please stop chewing that? Sorry, just have to go and get the dog before she chews on an electric wire and kills herself. Okay, here's the build. Okay, so starting off with a 3D printed helmet that I got from eBay, and as you can see there's lots of layer lines in there. Layer lines, you need to get rid of those, so let's sand them down. Unfortunately, sanding it down doesn't really get rid of all the layer lines. You've always got some left, you just can't get into those grooves. So you need to see where those grooves are. So first of all you need to give it a quick spray paint with just a standard undercoat really, and then that makes it so you can really see the shadows where the lines are. See, lots of little lines still there, you know, it looks alright until I sprayed it. Anyway, you get the idea. You have to paint it with undercoat so you can see the lines, and then you have to sand it again, and then you have to paint it with undercoat. There's a big bit on the top there that'll need filling later. And so here I am just sanding it again. As you can see, you know what, I don't know how much you want me to talk about sanding. There's really not that much I can say about sanding. Yeah, you sand it. I've got a power sander there. I also use, like, you know, just like a hand sander. And body putter, right. So as you can see, this body putty, it's not in English, and I speak English, but luckily it's got some pictures. So sand it down, smooth it on, and then sand it again, and then paint it. I can understand that. Okay. So there we are, we've got the thing. If you don't know, that little pointy thing at the top of the cap, that's actually to pierce the silver lid. There's a number of people who don't know that, it surprises me. So first of all, filling that little bit at the top where they've really, I think this is just where the 3D printer, where it gets to the top there, you know, you get to the top of a dome, it sort of runs out of space to actually print, so that's why that became particularly exposed. But yeah, you just go around and fill in wherever you've got little lines left really, which is where it's difficult to get in with the sanding, so you know, in those grooves especially, so around the base of the dome where the ridges are. And as you can see, it's now nice and firm, so back to sanding. Yeah, more sanding. Again, there's not much I can say about sanding, and wet sanding as well, so that's good. It stops you from getting all particles up and into your face. Always wear some kind of mask if you're sanding indoors. If you're outdoors, then it's not that difficult, not that important. I've got a little file there to get into all the little bits, and I got this other kind of body putty, so it's ball size of a pea to the ball size of a golf ball, it says. So I don't know, I guess that's that. Yeah, close enough. Get that mixed in anyway, so you mix that in. Yeah, I keep saying I do apologise, I always thought I was more eloquent than that, but there we go. And it's the same as the other body putty, just fill it in, get all those gaps, covering all those ridges, so then it can be sanded down again. Iris loves it when I'm doing the sanding. The wet sanding, yeah, get in there, and you know, an emery board. Emery boards are great, they're my favourite type of sanding apparatus, if I'm honest, but as you can see it's nice and smooth. Nice and smooth now, and going around the bottom there, got to make sure you get the bottom, every little area. You definitely get the inside, you don't want that scraping against your face. Once it's all sanded down, ready to actually glue it together. So I wasn't sure what kind of glue, so I decided to use a mixture of super glue and normal plastic glue. And yeah, just squelch that on using a vice to hold it in place and a cable tie, and a bit of activator, why not? And you know what, they actually dried really quick, or set really quick. Is it set? Is it dried? I'm not quite sure. Cured? Is it cured? Is it set? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, it glued quick. A bit of primer on there. I like armour painter just because it's made for the miniatures. So because it's made for miniatures, you can be pretty sure to use it on larger things, and you're still not going to get, like, you know, much bubbling and whatnot. It's pretty smooth. Other brands are out there, and I do use other brands as well, but yeah, armour paint is pretty good. As you can see though, it's going around and gluing again, and then back more some filling in the gaps where we glued it down, otherwise you end up, you know, you've always got a seam in there, especially on this side. There's quite a big seam on this side, so I had to make sure I got that filled in. Back on with the emery board again. I love the emery board, that is definitely my favourite sanding apparatus. I think I've said that before, maybe I'll say it again, who knows. But getting in there anyway, make sure you get rid of all all the areas that need sanding down. So then another spray coat, and then you need to look closely, and still some areas, so get in there with the sanding, like get really in there with the sanding and get that like smoothed out as much as you can. Sanding and sanding and sanding. So much sanding with this project, I can't tell you. I hate 3D printing, although I have heard, I may have said this in the intro, that apparently, rubbing alcohol, that's good for cleaning it up, but yeah, apparently if you just actually get some resin, like UV curing resin, and you put that on, then that soaks into those ridges, so then it makes it a lot easier to sand it down. This is just with the black undercoat on there, and as you can see, yeah, the majority of the lines have gone. There's just a couple which I'm not too concerned about, because I will be weathering this pretty heavily, so those will be hidden. You won't be able to see those. It's not like I'm going for a pristine, you know, Dinjarian style chrome dome. Yeah, so that's the black, and oh sorry, no, that was is that was silver, was it? Sorry, I looked away for a second. Was that the black or the silver? I don't know. Anyway, going on with the undercoat lacquer, I'm getting it underneath to protect the bottom, because I know I'm going to be like putting it down a lot on the counters. I want to make sure that it was protected on the bottom, but I didn't do the entire thing. It's just where it would be touching. As you can see on the stand here, and you can see the difference on the inside where I haven't sanded compared to the outside where it's all nice and smooth. That stand, by the way, it's a plasterer's hawk, I believe it's called, which you tuck in the other way up, and you put the plaster on top. As you can see, I've just secured a wire coat hanger on there, so then I can use that as a little stand for the helmet to go onto, like this. See, it's straightforward, it's nice and easy. I'm still using that actually as a helmet stand. I'm going to get something a bit nicer eventually. Now you see how flimsy that is, so I wanted to do something with the rangefinder stalk, or RF stalk as they call it, because it is really flimsy and wobbly. So I thought if I stick that bit of wood on the side, then that will firm it up and stop it from wobbling. So yeah, stay where you are, tape measure. So just measured roughly where that would actually go. Now the thing though with having this on is I knew that I would then have something stuck on the side of the RF stalk, and I didn't want that there as such, so I came up with a backstory for it. So in the backstory, this bit of wood that I'm sticking on, once it's actually completed, is going to look like a bit of metal, and it's actually supposed to be a sliver of armour that's taken from a fallen comrade's own Beskar suit or armour. So yeah, it's as if the Beskar's been like broken down and split out between the tribe or the clan or the house, whatever it's called, and so the little bit that my character's got is stuck it on there, and it's sort of like in remembrance. So I'm going to have that painted a different colour, and also I'm going to add like a stripe on the cheek, which is to indicate that colour as well. And as you can see, it's all nice and smooth down once it's been sanded. Just a standard hot glue gun to get that stuck on the side. You don't really need anything fancy for that. I wasn't sure if it would set very well though, so you know, I put a couple of vices on there. Yeah, just to be sure. Okay, I used 2 vices. Oh no, I used 3 vices. But you know, just to make sure that it stayed there. And you know, it was already set, I didn't really need to do that. By the time I'd put the second vice on, it was already done. So anyway, there you go, you can see that's now on there, and it's much more secure. Whee, spinning around. Okay, ooh, liquid masking. I love the liquid masking. So what I want to do with the liquid masking is to get in there so I can put things on in more detail and more fluidify. Okay, so basically this excuse the creaky chair here. So what I'm putting on here is where it's going to then be chipped. So where I'm masking off now, it's going to look metallic once I put the paint on the top. Alright, so you saw me smoothing out earlier on. Then when I actually undercoated with the silver, I left it to dry with some kitchen paper on top, or I turned it upside down on some kitchen paper to paint the other. But anyway, it wasn't dry fully, so when I actually took the kitchen paper off, it had left those indentations. But I thought, no, that's fine, I'll use those, and then when I paint on top, as you can see I'm putting little dots here so it goes with it. When I paint on top, if I mask off the metal parts, it'll look like it's just been chipped, like when he's been flying with his jetpack, it's been getting chipped with little bits. So the backstory, what I'm doing here is, the backstory is that my guy was fighting some kind of creature, you know, like the giant crate dragon at the beginning of season 2 of the Mandalorian, like a smaller version of that, some kind of creature that spits some kind of corrosive acid into the face of its prey. Now in this instance though, he was a Mandalorian, so he was wearing the armour, so he was protected, but you know, it sort of it scorched away all the paintwork on one side where the corrosive acid was spat out into his face. So I was trying to do it by hand. I wanted some kind of freehand of streaking it across, but you know what, it's actually really difficult to do a straight line by hand. As you can see, it's all been dried here, so I came up with this idea of actually just dipping some string into the liquid masking, and then I can just lay that on top, and then that gives me a nice straight line to follow. And then, you know, just add a little bit more with Well, I think this one's not a paintbrush actually. What's it now? It's what used for like a clay tool, a clay moulding tool. What are they called? Yeah, you know the sort of thing I'm talking about. Anyway, you've got like a soft end. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just putting more and more on here, building up. So this level, as I say, this is what's going to be the exposed metal. So this is the first layer of masking with the exposed metal. Just lots of it going on. I really wanted it to look like it was beaten up. You know, like again in the Mandalorian, you know, when Boba Fett returns and his helmet is all, you know, all the Scott, well, his entire armor, in fact, is all the paintwork's all been like corroded off and burnt off from being in the Sarlacc pit. I wanted it to be that kind of effect. And yeah, so this is something that I found out while I was doing it, is just get another little crafting tool, a sculpting tool, that's what it is, sculpting tool with a soft head. Yeah, so use the sculpting tool and just sort of tease it back, so then you can actually peel the latex back slightly and you've got a little bit more control over where it's actually going to be going, and then that way yeah, you can make some more interesting shapes instead of it just being splodges. And so that's what I'm doing here, is just sort of teasing it back. And going on to masking now, so I wanted the RF stalk masking off, the rangefinder masking off, because I want that to still be metallic, of course. Then the rest of it's going to be getting like the first coat of paint. So I want the back to be metallic as well. On the original Boba Fett helmet, he had like a big chunk. So what I've done there is like masking tape, and then I'm like rounding off the corners using the liquid. I just didn't want to splodge all the liquid on there, because then, you know, I didn't want to use up all my liquid masking basically. And drying that off, obviously. Yeah, so Boba Fett had a bit of a bald patch there, as I call it, and that was where I just done an experiment. You know, sometimes you'll spray with one spray paint and then you'll spray another coat, but if it's like two different brands, or if one layer isn't dried, then you'll end up getting like a weird texture. I wanted to recreate that, so using bicarbonate of soda to try and recreate that texture, and I was quite happy with that. So the idea is with the acid that I was talking about that gets spat at him, where that's corroded it, it's actually created this kind of texture on there as well. That's the idea behind it anyway, so this is just me experimenting to see how it goes. And as I say, the bald spot on the back of the head, as I call it on Boba Fett, he always had one, and I think it, you know, I like the idea that as the rocket on the jetpack's been fired, that's actually been banging into the helmet or scorching off the paint over time, or even he's just like, you know, hit his head back when the jetpack's gone off and he's banged his head on his own missile or something. But anyway, I wanted to recreate something similar. So here I am now, just applying the bicarbonate of soda as I did with my little test earlier, and really just applying all the different masking techniques I can think of. Obviously now it's just had a coating of black undercoat, and so now I'm going around where I've already done the masking, where that's going to be showing the metallic. I'm now going around that area with the masking, so then the black will be showing through as well. When I actually ended up peeling off the masking, as you'll see a bit later on, well, you'll see, it didn't really show the black, but the idea was this will then show the black, so it's like there's a black undercoat underneath the top coat of paint. So it still shows in some areas, not so much in others. It doesn't show as much as I would have liked, but you know, you can't really help how it actually peels off with the masking, unless you do it like one layer at a time, I suppose. But I didn't want to do that. I like the idea of just sort of building up and building it up and building it up with the masking, and then just peeling it off in one go. It's very satisfying. So there you can go see the first coat of undercoat, and then Agrax Earth Shade. I don't know if Citadel still do Agrax Earth Shade. They seem to update their colours all the time, so it might be called something else these days. It's basically brown, okay, just a brown wash. Now the key to doing a wash is do it one part of the helmet at a time. Don't just cover the entire helmet. If you cover the entire helmet, like the dome and then the cheeks, it's just going to run down the dome, off the dome and straight down the cheeks. So do the dome first as one separate piece, and then you can go back onto the other areas. And as you can see, I was just going around and slapping it on, and then with a bit of kitchen paper just sort of drying it off as I was going, so it didn't dribble down. And once that's dried, go around with another coat, so I want it to be quite dark. And once all it's dried, I can then go onto the back and the cheeks and just get around the edges. But like I said, if the top was still wet, then the top would just be dribbling down with it. So do it one piece at a time, get a nice even coat. I'm not too concerned about an even coat here. You see it's quite streaky because I'm going to be going over the top of it. This is just a base coat which I'm then going to be stippling and doing dry brushing over the top of. So this is just to get the shading right into the recesses, and make sure you just get good coverage all over. I actually quite liked it at this level. I was really tempted to just leave the helmet here and not paint any more coating, but I did want some more colour on it. But I might do another helmet that is just like this with texture on, and just the one colour that is dirty bone colour. I think it's quite a nice cool colour scheme. And oh, there's my box of paints, full of most of these are dried, I've got to be honest. I need to go through and clear them all out. They're like really old ones, just like the ones I picked up from different jobs as I've gone along. So it's two different bone colours. there isn't one that's the same as the Army Painter colour, so I just thought, like, well, as you can see here, this is sort of kind of dry and that one's kind of dry, but I thought, well, if I kind of mix together what I have got, I might be able to come up with something similar. It didn't really work, but that's me putting water in to try and, like, you know, bring it back to life where it had all dried out, what dribble was left. As you can see, I wasn't very successful with it, but well, it didn't look like it was asking fast forward. In real time, that was dribbling off like really badly, but yeah, as you can see, anyway, I'm attempting, I'm trying, okay guys? You don't know unless you try these things. So that's me testing it, and yeah, it's like glue, so we'll get rid of that one. Yeah, nasty, like gone off milk. Get rid of that dude. I was still trying. Oh, okay. Apparently, I still attempted it anyway. Okay, this is going to end badly. I'd forgotten about this. Oh, that's where I was like, yeah, using a separate old pot to try and mix up. It didn't work. Just got my hands all dirty. Look at this idiot. God, what a fool. What are you doing? Clearly, it's not going to work, man. Good grief. What a buffoon. Anyway, he gave it a go. This is going to end badly, isn't it? I honestly don't remember this. Well, there I am doing dry brushing. Dry brushing, please! Get your brush dry when you're dry brushing, otherwise it's just really streaky. And people just dry brush, they just wipe it off a little bit and then like, oh, it's all streaky, because it's not dry. It's called dry brush for a reason. But you can see here there's, like, you know, building up in, like, you know, speeded up footage. You can see how it builds up slowly over time. That's how dry brushing is supposed to work, and you get to the level you want. And so I got to this point, and clearly I thought, well, that's like white, not the dirty bone colour that I was going for. So yeah, made a mistake there. Try and cover it up as quickly as possible so no one knows you made a mistake, then that way everyone thinks you're perfect. Okay, there you go, life hack. Make a mistake, cover it up before anyone realises and everyone thinks you're amazing. Okay, so once you haven't seen no mistakes here. Nope, it's all good. Okay, moving on. I tried dry brushing by putting the spray paint straight onto the thing, and then I thought, right, oh, no, so it's stippling, not dry brushing, and then using the spray paint directly onto the tile that I'm using, just so I can use the brush to stipple it, and it kind of worked. You know, it's working okay. The brush though, the spray paint dried very quickly onto the sponge, so the stippling didn't quite work. The spray paint is meant for spraying, let's be honest. So yeah. The stippling itself worked, the technique worked. Spray paint, don't use the spray paint because it just sticks to it, and you can see how much it's sticking on top there. But after a while though, I kind of got used to it, and I was able to work with it, and it's not too bad. And then go over top, and then dry brushing, and just going back with the dry brushing. And yeah, I'm using it looks like I'm using the white one again. I actually thought that I used a darker one straight away, but it looks like I'm using that white one again. But the stippling has worked as a nice blending layer in between, so that's going to work out quite well, or that was the idea at least. And as you can see, with the speeded up footage, you can see how that's like just sort of building up and blending in. It's not like a solid colour going on, it is just building up and building up over the top of the stippling, which itself is over the top of the dirty wash, which is over the top of the base colour. This squeaky chair again, do apologise everybody. And yeah, this is where I just went back to not the speed up footage, just normal speed footage, just so you can see that's what it looks like in real time. It's going round and around in circles and so on, back and forth, and yeah, that builds up nicely. Now I am doing the dome again separate to the rest of it because they are going to be different colours. Wow, don't know if the microphone picked that up, but a loud vehicle just drove past it. Okay, so now the dome is just about done. I can now go over the other half, the bottom half, and again just going around with the dry brushing over the top of the stippling. In fact, I don't think I've stippled on this one, did I? No, just went straight to the dry brushing. I don't know if I actually forgot to do the stippling or if I just gave up on it as a bad job, because yeah, now I remember. Yeah, you see, I didn't have a plan for this at all, did I? Okay, so yeah, I gave up on the stippling because it didn't work with the spray paints, as discussed before. You don't want to use spray paint for anything but spraying, so I just went straight to the dry brushing onto the bottom half, which is fine because it's just for a base coat on the bottom half. So I'm now giving a wash on top. So again, this is a wash on top of dry brushing, on top of stippling, on top of a wash, a double wash in fact, on top of the base colour, so those layers all then blend in to create the finished layer of paint that you see there on top. So now this is a really watered down red. This is a base red that I'm going to have, and then I'm going to mask off to just have parts of it exposed, just so then you're getting different textures, different colours, different shades of red. So again, this is just a really watered down red. So build this up over time with different layers and different masking and so on. I actually quite like this as well. I was tempted to just leave it at this level and just have like the colours like really watered down and washed out. I thought that might be quite a cool colour scheme to go for. Again, this is slightly watery yellow going on here. I'm not just slapping it on thick, but again, this is going to be for a base colour because I'm going to be using a kind of, well, similar coal desert yellow spray though, the army painter over the top of that. Those are the paints in the background there actually. So yeah, just masking off. So I want the dome covered up completely, and then cover up this part here. Remember, cover up every little bit that you don't want to be sprayed. Even if you're not pointing in that direction, I can guarantee your paint will get on it somehow. So this is me masking off for that red, where I want the watered down red to be showing through. And again for the bottom. So I don't know if you saw there, but some of the actual paint peeled off as I tried to move the liquid latex around then, but that's fine because, you know, it just adds to the different layers and the different colours. That's how it's supposed to be. You know, out in the wild, these kind of like colours would naturally come in different random kind of textures and shades and so on, and that's what I'm trying to recreate here. So that's my obviously the main base red that's going on. I say base, I say base for the other one. You know what I'm saying. There's only so much you can say about paints when, you know. And then I spray painted it, then I masked it off, and then I spray painted it, then I masked it off, and then I spray painted it. So yeah, using the masking tape as much as you can get into it, and then use the liquid masking to get into the corners and stuff and really round it off and get the edges. I found it to be quite an effective way of getting into the curves of the helmet and the mandibles, the cheeks should I say, and the mandibles. And again, as I did before, just getting in there and edging back the liquid latex. Now you can see that I've sprayed on the other yellow that goes underneath, and this is me exposing the RF stock for, you know, I said the remnant of the shard of Beskar armour, so that's what's stuck on there. So his colleague, his comrade, wore blue armour, so I'm going to be doing the strip of metal blue on top. So yeah, masked it off with the lines, but then put in a little bit of well, a few details of the liquid masking again, so it looks like it's actually chipped and so on. Get that dried off, and then sprayed it with the blue. Okay, so again, to mask off everything where you don't want the blue, even though you might not be spraying anywhere near it, because I can guarantee you will get the blue on there, you will get the other colour on there. Right, so on the rangefinder for the actual view piece, I don't have the actual bit that goes on there. It's from an old camera. It's actually from the viewfinder of an old camera that the original prop makers used on the rangefinder sighter viewer. God, learn England, fool. Right, so I had to decide to make one myself, so I just got this offcut of Sintra or Fomex, or it's called all sorts around the world. And I thought, you know what, it's basically just a rectangle, so I just cut out a rectangle that's roughly the right size, and, you know, sand down one edge of it to have a bit of a as you can see there, there's a bit of a diagonal edge on it, so it's not just a straight right angle edge on it, and then that way it'll look similar to the actual rangefinder as you would have on the main Boba Fett helmet. That was a little cover off of something, I'm not sure, I think it was a light fitting, had like a wire bit sticking out, and that was just like a cover for the wire thing that you took off, and so then just cutting it down to size so it would fit into that gap. This was all while the paint was drying, so the actual rangefinder was covered up and masked up, so this was all just like roughly to size, measuring where it was underneath the masking, but it was just a guess because obviously the masking tape there, it made the size completely unmeasurable. It was just a big guess, but anyway, yeah, this is just making my own little rangefinder doohickey. I could have done with putting this in the speed up footage actually, that's really slow. I think I meant to and then just forgot to speed it up. Come on, dude, hurry up. Nobody's interested in seeing you cut this. Oh, and then I have something else to cut it with. Snip, 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 snip. File, 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 yeah, just getting it nice and smooth. And again, doing all this work and I've not even measured to see if it fits as yet. But at least that fits inside it. There you go, perfect. Okay, yeah, we've seen it, move on now. That's not really what it looks like on the actual Mandalorian armour in the film and TV programs. Oh, here we are. But you know, I liked it as my own little variant. So here we go with peeling off the masking. It's taken so long to build up theirs because obviously you have to like paint it, leave it to dry, do the wash, leave it to dry, paint it, leave it to dry, so on and so forth. So it'd been absolutely ages before, you know, since I actually originally did the metallic undercoat. So I was really looking forward to peeling all this off and seeing what it actually looks like and seeing if it actually worked. I had no idea what it was going to look like at this point. But yeah, exciting times peeling it off once it's finally dry. There we go. So you can see the different, I masked off at the different stages for the different colours and so on. So you can see there the black, where I was saying that it looks like a black undercoat, so it did work in some spots, but then in other areas it didn't really work as well. You can see some at the bottom of the cheek there. So I wanted it around the bottom. I figured that's where I think the helmet would be put down all the time, I'd be grabbing it all the time, so the paint would be chipped around the bottom more likely. And then around the front again, when he got the corrosive spray from the creature, but also when he's flying with his jetpack, he's going to be getting stuff flying into his face as he's looking where he's going, so I figured that would be the area that's got the most weathering and you know, just general damage onto it. Wear and tear. It's very satisfying doing this. I can't tell you how satisfying it is when you peel off that masking. But here on top you can't see much of the black, and I think it was basically where basically because of like the masking, the liquid masking and then painting on top, you couldn't really see where the edges was. So then when I went to do the second layer of masking to show the black, I think that there was a lot of it where I was actually just masking on top of masking, but didn't realise because there was just that much masking there. But you know, it's fine. As you can see, there's lots of the black showing through there. Yeah, really satisfying peeling this off. Honestly, just watching it back, for me anyway, just remembering peeling it off, it's great. So as you can see, where the fainter red was underneath the watered down red, so that just looks like it's where it's like partially corroded and mixed with some kind of undercoat or something. Just getting all those little bits now, just those little tiny bits, and getting out all the crevices and whatnot. As you can see the back where the grill is, I don't know if you noticed, but I did mask that off as a separate thing. And oh, there's my rangefinder doohickey, and as you can see, it's a perfect fit. Alright, no it's not. Yeah, it's too big, so that needs trimming down, so that's easy enough, just cut off a little bit. I didn't measure this, I just sort of eyeballed it, as you can see there. You just got it roughly right, and then, you know, get the other side, using the actual lines on the mat there to, you know, get it at the right angle. There we go, get that stuck on there, but then that had to be cut down to size as well, and that was actually quite difficult. I think I'm going to replace that because I couldn't get a straight line on it, because it's two layers of plastics. It was a cover, so you know, you got a front and a back layer where the thing went on the inside, so when I was trying to cut it, it actually just, you know, made it all like wiggle out of shape. But anyway, just scraping off a bit of paint here so I can get some purchase with the super glue. There we go, sticking that on. Get that in there as well. Go on, in there, go, get in there. Right, rangefinder done. Okay, yeah, quite happy with that. Oh, the cheek thing. What's it called? Does anybody know? I don't know. Anyway, the cheek thing. Again, just scrape off a bit of the paint for, you know, give them some purchase for the glue. Glue. And squelch. Stick it on there. Again, just roughly eyeballed where that goes. I looked at a few different reference photos of the original Boba Fett helmets, and it turns out it's actually in a different place depending on which film or TV show you watch, so I figured it doesn't really matter that much. I'm not doing a Boba Fett replica, so you know, oh, that's where obviously I stuck my thumb into the paint at some point, so let's try and make it look like it's a deliberate feature. So I just use a bit of sandpaper to, you know, scrape it back a little bit and look like a bit of wear and tear, a bit of battle damage on there. There we go, yeah, get right in there and scrape that off. I'm just going to have to move this chair, so it really is creaking and annoying me. There we go, that's the chair out of the way. So here you can see where, yeah, it's not really covered correctly. I've just skipped, oh there we go, yes, the black was run out, I wanted to put some black down over the top where the black undercoat hadn't shown, but I ran out of black, so I decided to use this dark purple. Trust me, nobody will notice, it's fine. For example, and I'm going to blow your mind now, or for some people, did you know that Darth Vader's cheeks are 2 different colours? What? Yeah, everybody just thinks he's got a black helmet and it's just black. No, one of the cheeks is actually got a slight graphite on, so it's actually like a silvery colour. And yeah, you don't really notice it because people don't notice. People don't notice that I've used purple instead of black. Nobody's mentioned it to me yet anyway, and nobody noticed that about Darth Vader. But I'll tell you what, now you know that about Darth Vader, you'll never look at his helmet again without seeing it, because I know I never did after I found out about it. So yeah, I'm using purple instead of black where I wanted to have a bit of the undercoat shown where it hadn't shown through. So this is just to give a bit of texture to that blue as well by making it look like some light and shadow on there. This is now with the wash, by the way. I'm not using that purple anymore, this is with the wash, so just going around to get right into the crevices now that I painted over the top of the original wash. Just, yeah, as you can see, just using a bit of any old kitchen paper just to wipe it free, and so it doesn't run and doesn't pull. So just going around there. So this is, I'm now building up where the grime and the dirt, this is for the weathering. So first of all I want to get this right into the crevices of going around all the little cracks around the different edges, so you know where you would have grime and oil and things like that, just like building up over time. So even if you're a clean Mando and you do give your helmet a good sort of wipe down after you've been out, you know, slaughtering people, I don't know what Mandalorians get up to when they're not appearing in TV shows. So yeah, even if you do keep your helmet generally clean, you know, there's those crevices where unless you're going to, you know, give it steep it in boiling water, you're never going to get it fully clean. So just going around with the wash, and I wanted that area, that grill area, to be particularly dirty. You know, this Mando just gives it, you know, once over with a tissue once every 6 months or something, I guess. And I especially wanted to build up around this little doof. I wanted that to look like it was actually functional, like it, you know, it occasionally got condensation in there and stuff, and you know, it built up with the grime around it. And this is when I then found it was closer to black than the purple, but I thought, right, I'll use this for the building up of the grime to start with. So when you're building up dirt and grime, what you want to do is just slap it on, wipe it off, slap it on, wipe it off. So that's what you can see I'm doing here. Start off with a dark colour, so that's why I'm using that, is it Charadon Granite? Again, Citadel colours, Games Workshop, you know, they change the range all the time, so I don't know if that even exists anymore, to be honest, probably not. But yeah, just go around, slap it on, wipe it off, just a bit of kitchen paper, stick it on, wipe it off, stick it on, wipe it off, because it won't all wipe off. You just go over a couple of times and you just loosely wipe it off, because it is meant to just look like smudgy dirt and grime that's built up. It's actually more satisfying, quite therapeutic doing this. It's more satisfying than it maybe looks like. It looks like it's, you know, long, tedious work, but yeah, once you get in there and, you know, you've got music playing in the background, or a podcast or something, or I don't know, maybe you've got this video playing in the background, that'd be nice. Hello. And yeah, just go around the entire thing. Again, there's not much you can talk about with putting on this weathering. Just remember, you can't use too much and you can use too little. So yeah, slap it on, wipe it off, slap it on and wipe it off. I keep saying that, I've got to stop saying that. Let's go back to the backstory. So the backstory for my guy, I think the general idea is that he had this incident with a cave and the creature in the cave, but I think also he was he's got a partner, a wife or girlfriend, but I think that in my story they've been separated, not separated as in divorce, but you know, they got separated. The galaxy is a big place, and they got split up, and I think he's trying to track down his wife or girlfriend. I don't know, do Mandalorians get married or do they just sort of team up, as it were? Yeah, so just go around, don't be scared, just slap it on and then wipe it off. But anyway, yeah, he's been split up from his wife, and so he's travelling the galaxy trying to find her, taking jobs just to find her, which is why he's not really taking care of his armour as much perhaps as he should have done, because he's too busy, you know, keeping on the move. He's not stopping long enough anywhere to get a new paint job and to, you know, spruce things up. He just, you know, gives it a clean while he's flying around. So that's the general idea for it anyway. Then my wife, she would like her own, my wife in real life, that is not my character's wife, but my wife in real life, she would like her own suit of Mandalorian armour, so I think we're going to make her a suit of armour as well after we've made my own, so then we can have the two characters, and that can be like the two characters reunited, and that'll be lovely, won't it, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary friends? Yes, that'll be lovely. And you know, this really does go on forever, doesn't it? There we go, finally we've got a lighter colour. So you start with the dark one and then you go on to a lighter brown, and again same process, stick it on and wipe it off. That's it. Okay, I think we can go faster than this. Stick it on and wipe it off. We can go faster than this. I said, oh God, I really should have narrated it as I was editing it. So yeah, what I do is I edit this together and then I have to sit down and narrate it. This is what I'm doing now, voiceover, hello. And yeah, so there it goes, it's finally speeding up a little bit. But I've got no control over the video at this point because I'd have to stop and re-edit it to go back and change it now. But yeah, I could have done having that a bit more faster. And yeah, here we are then with the next one, and look, I'm sticking it on and wiping it off, and sticking it on and wiping it off, and sticking it on and wiping it off. But you can see now we're putting on the next layer that's a different colour, a different shade, how that actually builds up and it adds to the texture, and it makes it more random, it makes it more natural looking. Now I do see a lot of people doing cosplays where, going back to when I was doing the wash on the top and I was saying don't just stick the wash on, again here with the next colour, I was saying don't just stick the wash on because it will just run down and pull around the bottom. I do see a lot of people who seem to just stick a wash on and then they'll just wipe it with a dirty rag, give it a once over, and it just looks really, really streaky. And I think that's where they've just been told to paint it on and wipe it off, but it's like, no, you really need to wipe it off. You don't just give it a once over with a dirty rag, you really wipe it off. So you need to get right in there, wipe it off, because it will leave behind a bit of residue, and it's building up that residue slowly. That's the way to do it. That's what I found anyway. I'm no expert, but that's how I did it. It seems to work for me anyway. I'm quite happy with the results. Don't forget the RF stalk. I really liked how it works out on the metallic parts actually, especially the lighter yellow, the brighter yellow, really sort of, on the metallic parts that really brought it out. When I'm using it with the metallic colour is I'm just going around the edge just to bring out those edges, just make those really pop. So where the light's now catching on those edges, you can see already that's starting to shine a bit more. And it's making it look like more of a hard edge instead of it just being, well, a solid thing that's been painted, which it was before. It makes it look like that edge is sharp. It makes it look like it's solid. It exists as its own thing. So now using the mithril silver, I love the mithril silver for edging. And again, you can see as that paints on, it's like instantly that edge starts to shine. It really pops. It makes it really stand out. And that's all we wanted to do really, is just bring out the edge. Again, a little bit of extra work on this one. So this is a 3D printed element as well, and there are actually some of the lines, the layer lines or something on this, but they actually looked like it's part of the mechanism, so I decided to leave those. I didn't really sand those down on the little cheek doohickey and a doofer. Why did that begin with a duh? I'm gonna have to come up with some new words for these like random little bits. Yeah, just going around, as I say, picking out all the little bits. And then I want to get a little bit more attention onto the cheek thing, and when I glued it down, it's sort of like the glue set into the hole, so just want to clear those out and make them more defined. So that's what I'm doing now, just going in there. And now you can see, there you go, those holes are much more clear. Right, so that was the paint job done. So it's just a welder's mask, face shield visor. That's all it is that I used for my visor. And I started to get ready to put it in, and then I remembered, oh no, first I want to lacquer. This turned out to be a mistake, but yeah, first I want to lacquer the helmet to give it a protective coating. As you can see, yes, you can just cut the welding visor with scissors. You don't need anything special to do it. It was a bit tough, but yeah, you can do. So just give it a quick wipe down with a bit of the isopropyl alcohol. So as you can see with the spray lacquer, it came out really shiny. It looks wet. I'm not sure I like that, so I may go back to it later and give it a quick sanding, just to take off that really shiny edge. So to put the visor in there, to stick it, everybody's got a different technique for this. But I was thinking it's so bendy, it's so strong, is that the welding visor, that I figured what I'll do is mark out where it goes in there, and then put something into you know, to stop it from unfolding, as it were. You'll see what I mean. So if it stops it, if it can't actually flex back to unfold, then it will stay stuck in there. So that's what I'm doing now, is sticking that in at the edge of, so I've marked out where the edge of the visor actually goes to, and then stick these in. That's it, get those glued in there, and then that will stop it from moving, and if it can't move then it can't unfold, and it should stay in place. Oh, that back piece as well, I didn't want light to shine through, so this is an old one. This is actually my son's, which is like so dirty and grubby. My son's old microphone cover. Just taking the material out of that one and sticking it on the back, and then that way, look, you can't see my head inside when I'm wearing it. Yeah, there you go. Well, straightforward, I don't know. Seemed to work to me. I'm just going on now where, there you go. So now that's in place, it's not glued in or anything, it's literally just wedged between those bits of Sintra or Filmex, depending on where you are in the world, so what you call that. And now the visor's getting glued slightly as I was gluing that one in, but that's just because it's gluing those bits in place. Using those just to wedge it down. There we are, just to make it nice and secure. Oh look, a tank! What am I doing with a tank? Well, I want the little light. So get that, oh no, yep, get in there, no, yep, get, there we go, eventually got that out of there. So it's a little LED that I was after. Why am I after that? Well, to go in there, of course. Yeah, so I had the 3D printed helmet, but I didn't have anything for the little details. So yes, I had the little red one from the tank, and then I saw there was this old remote control, and of course there's only one way to get into. Right, I could knock that onto the floor from the sofa onto a soft carpet and it would bounce open. We've all got controls like that, but there I am throwing it onto a concrete floor and it just would not come open. It just, yeah, the gods were against me. But eventually I got in there and I got the other one out there, and it's two different colours which I quite like. So instead of just having two plain clear ones or two the same colour, I've now got two completely random colours because they just happen to be the things I could find. Unfortunately they weren't quite the right size, so I just had to open up those holes a little bit more, and then there you go, nice and snug. Snug as a bug. Right. So a little bit more of the super glue. There we go, and there. That's the rangefinder finished. And then just some padding on the inside. Really, you just need to find your own way of doing it, but that seemed to work for me. Okay, so that's how I prepared my Mandalorian helmet. I hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed yourself. I'll show you a gallery in a second, but you know the drill. Like, subscribe, all that kind of thing, tell your friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Okay, so I finished building the helmet quite a while ago. It's taken me a little while to release this video because, well, amongst other things, I've been making the blaster to go along with it. Because, yeah, I am planning on building the full suit of Mandalorian armour, so, you know, subscribe to the channel, keep track of things, and then you can see the build as that goes along. But also, it was my birthday recently. Yay, happy birthday to me. So, yeah, the beginning of June next year, remember that if you want to get me a little present. Because this year, I've shown some pictures of the Mandalorian helmet to some friends of mine, and they got me this. Yeah, how cute is that? Little Grogu. So what do you think, Iris? That means I don't have to shave you and paint you green anymore. I don't think she's bothered, to be honest. Okay, so yeah. That is so super cute. Really happy about that as a little birthday present. My own little Grogu. Okay, so yeah, back to the gallery.